Just got up out of bed, got laid out of bed. Well, I'm on holidays, remember. And, to getting close to 11-ish, I've been chicken liver and pate and brie. So I've been, let's say, enjoying some of the niceties of life, licking my fingers as well. Anyway, getting on with it. I thought I'd make a little quick video. Well, we'll see how quick it is. And Heidi actually asked me, she thanked me about the recent video that I did on the autophagy of apoptosis, and actually asked me about the benefits of red light, stuff like that. And I did say yes, to a degree. Yeah, it does help. Lowering blue light has a benefit in that regard, those sort of frequencies, because red light tends to be, those frequencies tend to be more therapeutic. Also, they increase energy through complex 4. Earthing as well, I did mention as an electron donor to damaged tissue. But I said the main, deuterium depletion and the restoration of mitochondrial energy production, that means clearing out the deuterium, allowing the, what I said earlier, about melatonin and better sleep. And it's probably the reason why therapeutic ketosis actually, is the thing that actually depletes deuterium when it's very high fat, low protein. And because you don't need as much protein, because the reality is, as you're in that sort of much more catabolic state, you will basically have a lot of you do want to be in that sort of state where you want a lot of the organelles and stuff like that to be released into the bloodstream, recycled and stuff like that. So you want that sort of state to be. It's not a good state to be continuously, I'm not saying that, but specifically for these purposes, it is. You're increasing the amount of deuterium depleted sources of energy, which is fat. And you're, as a consequence, as that sort of alters and changes, what you'll actually do is you'll downregulate oncogenes. And those long chain fats that are elongated around the nucleus of the DNA to protect it, while the cancer cell is in a sort of a glycolytic sort of state, they will unwrap themselves eventually, as first the oncogenes will be downregulated, then they'll unwrap them, and then basically you'll start having transcription factors and stuff like that, and slowly it's, as the energy goes up, the cell senses, and that will revert back to a sort of a precancerous sort of senescent state, which is where you want it to be, and then you can knock it off with senolytics, So, and, remaining in a sort of a low carbohydrate state puts stress to force apoptosis, plus getting your vitamin D status up, which will help with apoptosis as well. Now, there was a thing that I thought about. I'll think about it. I'm going, I did mention it ages ago in one of my live streams, and I sort of forgot about it. And I didn't mention it on this video, but I did, it sort of came back to me, and I go, because I've been thinking about it, it's a hypothesis of mine, okay? It's not basically, I don't have any science. There's no proof for it. There's no basis in that regard. At the end of the day, if you're out getting UV, you're deuterium depleting, even your fat in your adipose, there's deuterium depletion that happens naturally to some extent. But obviously, if you've had years and years of stored PUFA in your fat cells from seed oils, that has a high deuterium amount. So if you're fasting, and this is where I think like fasting can really work against, like in cancer states, or also some people, they fast, they get a plateau and they go, I'm fasting continuously, but I'm not getting results. And it could be because you're actually damaging your mitochondria and you're sort of reducing your energy capacity. So even though you're fasting, you can't actually utilize a lot of the free fatty acids. And maybe that's another reason why free fatty acids go up. Remember, we're damaged people. We're not basically coming from an ancestral state where, we go out there, we engage the Randall cycle seasonally, we fatten up, or periodically when we have a big amount of fat, the excess amount that we don't eat, we put in our fat cells, but because we've got low insulin, we can still activate hormone-sensitive lipase and access that in the night, in the daytime when we're not eating. And because the foods give us satiety, we're not constantly in the trough. And that's how it operates. That's how it's supposed to operate naturally. Store away, so chylomicrons will go to the adipose tissue. When fats come in, they will store a bit away. Then when you're not eating in the afternoon, you'll be accessing that, and you'll access it in the night, the next morning and stuff like that as you go for a hunt or whatever, or until you have your breakfast. That sort of stuff. I love that. Brie and chicken liver pate. Anyway, back to the video now. And the thing is, my sort of hypothesis is that a lot of us have got stored shit, a lot of highly deuterium fats from our past indiscretions. Releasing those, and this is why I've always said, when you're losing weight, always use a low dose vitamin E, the Jarrow one, because obviously when you're in a low carbohydrate state, your glutathione is upregulated. You can recycle vitamin E, but I think sometimes if you've got a lot of deuterium coming out of the fat cells, the adipose tissue, it just overwhelms. There's a rate limiting effect of deuterium depletion, a rate limiting effect of basically glutathione being able to do that. I mean, there's only so many enzymatic processes, so much energy around to do these things. So putting in that low dose vitamin E is probably going to be a good thing to deal with that sort of stuff. Now, how much through all the deuterium depletion storage stuff that is actually happening from the past indiscretions, how much, because the body's still depleting somewhat, some of this sort of stuff and changing it, happens in the liver before it gets stored, how much it gets depleted, nobody knows. I'm just extrapolating from some people's experience, and I'm going, maybe this is the thing that's actually affecting their energy. Maybe this is the thing, as they're losing weight, as they're fasting, they're actually damaging their mitochondria. And they haven't been doing what I've been telling them to do, 5 to 7 years of low dose vitamin E, to deal with both the problematic, because you've got also, the cardiolipin, which is PUFA based, in the mitochondria, that can get damaged as well. So from these seed oils, plus you've also got the deuterium component. Now, obviously, if you're doing a low carbohydrate type diet, and even really, how much is that energy flux coming from the fat cells? Is there an issue that we need to resolve in terms of maybe consuming a bit more deuterium depleted water to sort of dilute as we're losing weight? Using vitamin E to stabilize, which is that other side, but that doesn't cover the deuterium side. The vitamin E is just to cover the damaged PUFA that's coming out for the cardiolipin, so we don't have bleeding out of, so the gradients isn't affected of the proton gradient, so we don't have bleeding out through cardiolipin. So these are sort of thoughts that I'm having in terms of why people are having certain types, things are not working, why they have certain effects. Where people come to me and they say, I've got these brain falls, or these strange things, I'm doing fasting, I'm doing this, it's not sort of working and all that. I'm thinking maybe it's some of this sort of stuff, that we need to use deuterium depleted water to sort of dilute some of that sort of stuff. Don't go too low, because you're not in a cancerous state. You need to leave that just in case you do ever. So you can go low, because if you go too low, then your body really gets used to that sort of different level. Apparently, that's what Laszlo and some of the others are saying. That's been their experience. I'm not going to argue with them. I haven't done any research in that regard, and I haven't done any clinical work, so I can't talk in that regard. So all I can say is I'm basing it on theirs, and I'm just saying maybe we need to keep these into consideration as possible things that may be playing there, may have an effect, or maybe the reasons behind this sort of stuff. It's speculation on my part on, the deuterium side that could be having an effect when you're fasting or losing weight. And it's just not only the reactive stuff that needs to be stabilized by vitamin E, but also the deuterium part that I've been sort of thinking about, thinking that maybe the body's resolving that. You're out in the sun, 19 parts per million per hour. I do encourage that for a lot of you guys. If you're getting a lot of that, it potentially could be one of those reasons behind some of the things that are not working for people. I'm throwing it out there. People can comment and all that sort of stuff. But it's something that I've been thinking about a while, whether stored deuterium, high deuterium levels in the adipose tissue could be a factor that's not being taken into consideration. It's never been measured in any study. And well, we know there is a 19 part per million per hour of full body exposure in the sun. Yes, that can be a problem for a lot of people to expose themselves that much. Could scare the neighbours. But back on the serious stuff. Yeah, it's a thought that I've been having for some time now, which I've been looking at the literature, Eastern European literature and elsewhere, but I just can't find anything to really nail it down. Nobody's really looked at fat cells and looked at deuterium levels in fat cells. But I can't find any research on that either. So it's a speculation on my part. I'll be completely candid about that. But it could explain a lot of things, a lot of strange things that people are feeling, and strange things by some people that do deep therapeutic ketosis while they've got cancer. I find it very difficult to reverse out of it. They may be flooding their system with too much deuterium out of the adipose tissue, and that's why they're not getting the results. And it may be a smarter thing to go really high fat by intaking fat, so to prevent that from happening. Is why I've talked about that because at least the stuff that's coming in is all low deuterium. That's going to help. So, and it's sort of a reason why, looking at some of the literature about why fasting doesn't really work in sort of cancer states, it actually makes it, it may not only be that the cancer is using it as a protective, it may be the deuterium side as well, potentially. It may not be what these scientists think that it's sort of being protective towards the cancer cells. They may be wrong about that. It may be the flooding from the adipose adipocytes, a whole lot of deuterium. That could be the whole issue, and everybody's missing it. I don't know. It's a sort of a thought that I've had about this sort of stuff, extrapolating from all the stuff that I've researched. I could be completely and utterly wrong. I don't claim that this is the reason why some people in a cancer state are failing. With fasting and ketosis. I think that if those people are not getting the results they should, basically either to get deuterium depleted water or up the fat to prevent fat loss from their adipocytes, and use low deuterium fat, and stop worrying about, you're not on a weight loss thing. You got cancer. Focus on the cancer and worry about the weight loss later. Yeah, it's a thing that I'm still milling my head around. I think it's a credible hypothesis that I've got. But anyway, let me know what you think. Whether you think I'm just barking up the wrong tree, or that I'm making sense. Anyway, that's about it. See you. I'm going to go back to my yes, to that stuff. Enjoy the rest of your day.